Notification came through at 4:47 on a Tuesday afternoon, and I read it 3 times standing in the elevator before I let myself believe it. Effective immediately, Nadia Osei is appointed Regional Finance Director, Central Division. I pressed my back against the elevator wall and exhaled slowly. 7 years. 7 years of 6 a.m. starts, of skipping lunches, of driving home at 9 and reheating whatever was in the fridge because I was too tired to cook. 7 years of watching less qualified people get handshakes in corner offices while I quietly made sure the numbers were right. Every quarter, without fail. And now this. The elevator doors opened to the parking garage and the sound of my heels on the concrete felt different somehow. Sharper. Like they had somewhere important to be. I sat in my car for a moment. I wanted to call my mom. I wanted to call my college roommate Jessie, who had been texting me "you've got this" for 3 weeks leading up to the board decision. But the first person I called was my husband. It rang 4 times. He picked up mid-laugh at something in the background. "Hey," he said. "What's up?" "I got it," I said. "What regional director?" "They just sent the official notice." A pause. Not a stunned, happy pause. Just a pause. Not a stunned, happy pause. Just a pause. "Oh," he said. "Cool. Hey, can I call you back? We're in the middle of something." I sat with my phone in my lap for a long moment after he hung up. Cool. When I got home, my husband was on the couch with his laptop, headphones half on, watching what looked like a sports highlight reel. He looked up when I walked in and gave me a chin nod the way you do when someone enters a room you're already comfortable in. "You hungry?" I asked, because I didn't know what else to say. "I ate already," he said. "There's leftover pasta." I changed out of my work clothes. I stood in our bedroom and looked at the framed photo on the dresser. Our wedding, 6 years ago. Me laughing at something he'd whispered right before the photographer clicked. I had believed, in that moment, that he saw me. Really saw me. I ate the pasta alone at the kitchen counter and didn't bring up the promotion again. That was the night I started to understand that something had quietly broken between us. I just hadn't named it yet. His name was Grant. We'd met when I was 26 and he was 31. And in those early years, he was the kind of man who made you feel like you were the most interesting person in any room. He asked questions, he remembered things, he showed up, but somewhere in the years between then and now, he had stopped being curious about my life. And I had been too busy building it to notice how completely he had tuned out. The promotion changed the salary, which changed everything else. Regional director came with a pay grade that put me well above what Grant was making at his commercial real estate job. A job he'd been restructuring his approach to for the better part of 2 years, which in real terms meant he was closing fewer deals, blaming the market, and spending more time at home. I didn't make it a point. I never said, "I make more than you now." I didn't hold it over him. But he felt it anyway, the way men sometimes do, not as information, but as threat. Things got quieter. Then they got colder. Then, on a Wednesday evening in November, he sat across from me at the kitchen table and said the thing that changed the direction of my life. "My brother needs a place to stay." I looked up from my laptop. What happened to his apartment? He got behind on rent. His landlord's not renewing. Grant said it flatly, like he was telling me about traffic. He can take the guest room, it'll just be temporary. His brother. I'll call him the brother-in-law, because that's what he was to me and nothing more. 38 years old, between jobs again. The kind of man who had a gift for finding reasons why things weren't his fault. "Grant," I said carefully, "we've talked about this. Last time he stayed with us, it was 2 weeks and it turned into 4 months. That was different. How was it different?" "How was it different?" "He's trying to get back on his feet. He just needs a little time." "I understand that. I do. But this is our home. I need you to at least talk to me before you make decisions like this." He leaned back in his chair, and there it was, that look. The one I had started recognizing over the past year. The slight jaw tightening. The way his eyes went distant. "I already told him yes," he said. The guest room had new towels in it by Friday. His brother moved in on a Saturday with 2 large duffel bags and a sense of ownership that made my teeth hurt. He walked through the house like he was appraising it. opened the fridge, and commented on what we had. Asked if we had a gaming setup because he needed something to do. By the end of the first week, he was leaving dishes in the sink. By the end of the second, he had claimed the living room television most evenings. I worked from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and those days became exercises in containment. I would close my home office door and stay there through lunch, because the alternative was navigating the kitchen while my brother-in-law heated up something at 11 in the morning and asked me questions like, "So what exactly do you do all day?" I raised it with Grant. "It's not working," I said. "He needs a timeline. He's looking for work, I know. But we need boundaries in our own home. He's my brother, Nadia. What do you want me to do, kick him out?" "I want you to be my husband first," I thought. I didn't say it. I was still trying to do things the right way. I suggested a family meeting. All three of us. A calendar on the table. A plan. Grant said that would make his brother feel unwanted. I said his brother had been here for a month and hadn't contributed $1 to groceries. Grant said money wasn't the issue. I started to understand that to Grant, I was the issue. It happened on a Tuesday. I had gotten off a call with our Chicago office, a long one, the kind that leaves you with a headache behind your left eye, and I came downstairs to find my brother-in-law on the couch and Grant standing in the kitchen with his arms crossed, waiting. "We need to talk," Grant said. His brother stood up and left the room, which meant they had coordinated this. Grant said that I had been making his brother feel uncomfortable, that my attitude was affecting the household, that he needed me to ease up. "His feeling comfortable in our home," I said slowly, "should not come at the cost of me feeling comfortable in our home." "You're being dramatic." "I'm being direct." "I'm being direct. There's a difference. He's going through a hard time, and you're making it harder." I looked at my husband, at the man I had shared 6 years with, at the man who had said cool when I told him about the biggest professional achievement of my life. "Grant," I said, "when is he leaving?" Grant looked at me for a long moment. Then he said I told him he could stay as long as he needs to. I didn't respond. I went upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and sat on the edge of the bed for 20 minutes. Then I picked up my phone and called my attorney. I had a personal attorney already, a woman named Rosalind who I'd originally hired for a contract dispute at work 2 years prior, and who had since become someone I trusted completely. I told her the situation. She listened without interrupting. "What do you want?" she asked when I finished. "I want to protect myself," I said, "financially, and I want to know what my options look like." She walked me through it. The house was in both our names, purchased jointly 5 years ago. My income had increased substantially since then. We had a joint checking and a joint savings account, both of which Grant had full access to. "Move your direct deposit immediately," Rosalind said. "Open a solo account today if you haven't already. Transfer your personal savings, anything that's unambiguously yours, before you make any other moves. Is that legal?" "It is, as long as you're not stripping a joint account to zero. Move what's yours. Leave the joint accounts functional, but stop putting new income into them." I did it that afternoon. I walked into my bank's branch location on my lunch break and opened a new checking account in my name only. I had my payroll redirected before I left the building. I didn't tell Grant. Not because I was hiding, because Rosalind had told me not to tip my hand until I was ready, and I wasn't ready yet. I was still hoping, foolishly maybe, that he would come back to himself, that he would remember he was my husband. He didn't. What happened instead was a Thursday evening, 3 weeks after that conversation in the kitchen. I came home to find that Grant had moved the small desk from the guest room, my desk, the one I'd had since graduate school, into the hallway outside our bedroom to make space for his brother's work setup. I stood in the hallway looking at my desk pushed against the wall like furniture that had been demoted. Something settled in me. Not anger exactly. Clarity. I went into the bedroom and started making a list. Over the next 10 days, I did everything quietly. I contacted a real estate agent, a colleague's recommendation, someone who didn't know Grant, and started looking at apartments. 1 bedrooms, my budget, a reasonable commute. I found one I liked in a building with a doorman and a January availability. I put down the deposit on a Friday using a personal check from my new account. I told no one except Rosalind and Jesse. Jesse drove over on a Sunday morning when Grant had taken his brother to a car dealership to look at something the brother-in-law wanted but couldn't afford. She helped me pack. We were methodical. We took what was mine, my clothes, my books, the kitchen things I'd brought into the marriage, my grandmother's dishes that had been in a box in the closet, my home office equipment. We did not take anything that was ours jointly. We did not take anything that was his. We were done in 4 hours. I left a letter on the kitchen table. It was not angry. I had worked on it with Rosalind's guidance. It was clear, factual, and said only what needed to be said. That I was leaving. That I had retained an attorney. That all further communication should be directed to her office. I gave Rosalind the address of my new apartment. I did not put it in the letter. Then I left. Grant called 11 times that evening. I let them go to voicemail. Rosalind had been clear. Do not engage directly, not yet. Let the process work. The voicemail started confused, went to frustrated, went to angry. By the 7th one, his voice had changed into something I barely recognized, a hard, scraped-down version of his usual tone. He said I had blindsided him. He said he couldn't believe I would do this. He said his brother was going through enough without me making things worse. His brother. Even in the voicemails, it was about his brother. I listened to all 11 messages once, saved them at Rosalind's direction, and did not respond. I slept in my new apartment that night. The walls were bare and the refrigerator was empty and the city hummed outside the window in a way that felt, for the first time in a long time, like possibility rather than noise. I slept more soundly than I had in months. The formal proceedings began in January. Grant did not make them easy, but he didn't make them impossible either, which I think was partly because Rosalind was very good and partly because his position was not strong. He was earning significantly less than I was. The house had appreciated in value and the equity split was a straightforward calculation. We mediated rather than litigated. Grant pushed back on a few things, the retirement accounts, the car I'd paid for in my name, and lost both points because the documentation was clear. His brother, as far as I know, is still sleeping in what used to be the guest room of a house that will now be sold. There are things I want to say to younger women who are where I was 2 years ago, not because I think my situation is universal, but because I spent a long time feeling like the problem was me, like I was too ambitious, like I should shrink a little, want less, be quieter about what I'd earned. I want to say, your success is not a threat. If the person sitting across from you at the dinner table treats it like one, that is information. Painful, clarifying, necessary information. I want to say, protect yourself early. Not because you're planning to leave, because you have no way of knowing what you'll need. Keep your financial records current. Know what's in the accounts. Have a person, a Rosalind. Someone who can tell you what your options look like before you're standing in a hallway looking at your demoted desk and wondering how things got this far. I want to say, leaving quietly is not the same as leaving without purpose. I did not scream. I did not make speeches. I packed my grandmother's dishes, and I redirected my direct deposit, and I walked out of a house that had stopped feeling like home. The screaming happened after. And it came from him. It's March now. I have curtains in my apartment. Jesse helped me pick them. A pale linen that catches the afternoon light in a way that makes the whole room feel like it's breathing. I have a coffee maker that I chose, on a counter that I keep the way I like it. I got a call from our Chicago office last week. They want me to consider a VP-level role in the next review cycle. I said I'd think about it. Then I made coffee, sat by the window with the linen curtains, and took 20 minutes to just be still. I've been doing that lately. Taking 20 minutes, sitting with how quiet the apartment is, in the good way. Sitting with the fact that when something good happens now, I tell Jessie and she screams, and that's the right amount of celebration for the person who actually shows up for me. I am 31 years old. I am regional finance director. I have my grandmother's dishes and a January apartment and a lawyer who picks up on the second ring. I thought I needed someone to see me succeed. Turns out, I just needed to stop waiting for permission to believe I already had.